back to Strager's Plastic Cartel. Thanks for joining me today for what is the next edition of Fun and Games with the Hasegawa 148th F-16. So, no time like the present, let's jump in on the action. Here I am attaching one of the last bits of detail to the aircraft, the pitot, using super glue just to save time, and using the usual trick of using the airbrush needle to pop the glue in position without causing a mess. A little bit of a fiddly job, as you can see. Just waiting for the glue to bite, realizing it hasn't bitten, so adding a little bit more of the super glue, but being careful obviously not to swamp it, because this is so close to being done now. I don't need any glue spillages, etc, etc. Would help if I could get it in the slot. There we go, that's much better. Doesn't take long to bite. As you can see, I did straighten it up a little bit off air just to get it in line, and then of course it was painted. So here you find me putting on the forward radar blisters. They obviously as well will need painting. So as always, using super glue at this stage. Using the airbrush needle again as a fine almost applicator for this. They're quite small, as you can see, these blisters, so a little tiny bit of glue does the trick, and then it's the fiddly job of getting them attached to the nose of the aircraft, as can be seen here. I often find it easier to use both hands just to keep it steady, be more precise, like so, and then we don't get glue where we don't want it, and we get the part where we do want it. There it is, nicely in position and already stuck in place. Now it's time to do the other side. So again, same procedure as before, a little bit of glue on it, using both hands to keep the tweezers steady, and then I just pop the part in position, being careful to make sure that it mirrors the other side in position. No mess, as can be seen. Very happy with the placement of that, and then I'll get on with painting that. I didn't video the painting of that because, well, it's easy to see what needs doing and what doesn't. It's just a very fine application of grey. So next up, it's masking the wings to do the grey line that goes along the aircraft. I was going to do what I'm pointing out here and go along the fuselage and up towards the tail, but closer inspection of the few photos of this aircraft revealed that that doesn't actually have those grey lines there. So just be painting that line along, be masking it up, as it's much easier than using a decal. Bit of a closer look of the aircraft. Really do like the scheme on this, giving it a light bit of weathering all over. Not too much, because the real aircraft doesn't actually have that. I don't know what I'm pointing at here, because I'm obviously dubbing over this. Obviously got carried away with the chat while videoing. Do forgive that. That's something that I've learnt and will be cutting out of the next videos. So, as I'm pointing out still, I'm going to do the line. Dragging this out a bit in the video I'm making. Do apologise. Okay, time to mask. So I'm using Tamiya masking tape, and a little tip that I can possibly pass on to everyone is I always put the tape on the back of my hand, well most of the time, put the tape on the back of my hand 3 or 4 times just to take the strength out of it, so it doesn't pull away any varnish, any paint, and more importantly, any decals if I mask over it. I choose not to mask over the decals on this occasion. I use a piece of tissue and just pop the tape over the top of that, just purely because no matter what I seem to do, I always manage to somehow pull a bit of decal up, even though it's been varnished over. I see many other videos where people just mask over the decals, no problem at all. Me, no such luck. So as you'll see as the video goes on, I put tissue over the top of where the the decal is. Here I am just making sure that the tape is into all the corners so we don't get any bleeds. I find using a cotton bud or a Q-tip if you're in America, just to seal in the edges there. And I've delicately used the tweezers as well, so it's being careful not to scrape the paint. Just a bit of fast forward action here because I'm sure you get the idea of how to mask. Dancing a bit with the devil there, getting the mask very close to the decal. But it all worked out in the end anyhow, as you will see. Again, using the earbud or the cotton bud to just get the corners in so I don't get any bleed, because there's nothing worse than pulling away your fine bit of masking and having a bit of paint bleed. It's quite frustrating. Again, fast forwarding through this because you don't need to go through all of that. Making sure everything's covered. And as I've previously mentioned, I'll be covering this decal with tissue and also where the AMBV is on the other side with tissue, and then putting masking tape over the top of that. So it stays masked, but there's nothing that's going to be pulling on those decals and causing what would quite frankly be a disaster. I'm probably going to carry on hand gesturing here because again I'm dubbing over this video, but there we go, nice straight line. Very happy with that, same thickness as the other line. We'll do the other side now and then we'll get ready for paint. So as you can see here, the tissue over the decals, all masked up, and I've laid a little bit of paint down and we're ready to go for the other side. The colour that I used for the grey lines was Mr. Hobby 305. Really good paint. Mixes up well and lays down extremely well. It does look a shade glossy at times when as you'll see in this video, but trust me, it went down nice and matte in the end and it really came up lovely. My trusty paint mixing pot in the top right corner there. Here we go, spraying away. This is the Iwata Neo and I'm spraying at about maybe 12 psi, give or take, with a nice thin ratio of 1 part paint to 2 part thinners. People that say, oh, you need to mix to the consistency of milk, this is becoming a widespread, this has been widespreadly argued on the internet forums and things like that, that what is the consistency of milk? Don't listen to people that say that. Test it on a paint mule or whatever and just get the consistency. You'll get a feel for it. Test it on a piece of plastic next to your model. I tend not to do it on paper because you can't tell if it's going to run or not. So I always do it on a bit of plastic beforehand just to make sure you're not either going to get spidering or any runs. And as you can see here, this lays down really, really well. No need to blast it. Nice and close, low PSI, and the paint lays down exceptionally well. Checking to make sure that there's good coverage there, of course, before I remove the tape. Not quite happy, so another couple of passes. Again, low PSI. The paint lays down beautifully. As I say, it looks quite glossy there, but when it dries off, it dries to a nice matte sheen. And we're happy with that. Nice and straight, looking good. Next up, we'll be doing the best bit, and that's removing the masking tape and revealing what we've got. So carefully removing the masking tape now. I use tweezers to do that. I just do bear in mind that these tweezers are sharp, so don't pick at it too much because otherwise you'll scrape the paint. And I've learnt this again myself the hard way. I'm sure it's probably common sense to most of you, but as you can see there, the decal's not come up because I covered it in tissue, so all is good there, no loss. So we'll just remove the rest of the decal paper or the decal tape and we'll see what it looks like. Looks like I'm swinging a pair of chopsticks around here. I'm obviously gabbing away doing the video, but again, I'm dubbing over this because I find it easier to do it this way. When I finished rambling and swinging the tweezers around, I'm sure I'll get on with removing the tape. There we go, Phil's shut up now. And we're getting on with removing the tape, the best bit, and see how this line looks. Again, being very careful with the tweezer tips, not to pick any of to scrape at the paint, to just get hold of the tape and pull away. Carefully, like so. No need to rush this bit. And ta-da! There we have a nice grey line. Much better than decals, like I keep harping on. Very happy with that. Obviously I then go on to the other side and remove all the Tamiya tape from that side, but I'm pretty sure I bored you enough with this side as it is. So there we have it. 2 nice grey lines. Now, the eagle-eyed of you will notice that the rear line's a little bit more, for want of a better phrase, more visible than the front lines. That's just purely for the case that I did the front lines and then weathered the aircraft. So I will use a Deerfoot stippling brush with some lightly thinned oils, and I'll dab it over the back there just to make that line less visible. Here the pitot is fitted, colour matched beautifully, I might say, to the nose. Well done me, just needs a little bit of silver work on it. And obviously for the rest of the build, I've got to try not to take that pitot off. Place your bets here, guys and girls, whether that will still be on at the end of the build. So I'm very happy with how this has come out. We're nearing the end of the video now. Next video will be me attaching the static discharges to the points here on the wings and also the rear horizontal stabs. And that will pretty much conclude it. Very happy with how this model has come out. Next up will be missiles in the next video. Just like to say, like and subscribe. I really appreciate it. Thanks for getting this far in the video. If you're still with me, really appreciate that. Thanks for following me and thanks for your support. Until next time, bye.